Here, I'm going to be showing you uncovered truth from relations with media from my personal experience. Um, I was a journalist in a social political weekly newspaper back home in Ukraine, and I was a journalist that was receiving tons of pitches, tons of visitors, tons of press conferences, and everything. Where people would want to appear on the news, or if something would happen, I would need to go and talk to them. And now everything that I know from the newsroom, I'll be sharing with you because these are the dirty secrets that nonprofit organizations need to know because we do good things and people deserve to know about it. The question is why traditional media matters. I know that we all rely on our blogs, we rely on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and so on, and we promote the information about us and so on through those media. Not many of them work with traditional media, but it matters. It matters because according to surveys, people still believe traditional media more than bloggers or some social media publishers. It's for a reason. First of all, people still have these habits from the old times. Second, because behind the news, there would be an actual person that was trained to present this information. And the third most important reason is that if something is wrong, you can sue the newspaper, right? The newspapers are liable for the information that they publish. Not only newspapers, I mean media in general. It can be TV, it can be radio. They are liable for the information they share. And if it's wrong or if it's harmful, they can be sued. And it's not so easy to sue influencers and make them responsible for the checked or not checked information that they share. Another important thing is why it's important for us nonprofits to appear on the news. This is a slide from the company it's from Google, from the company I used to work with. It's a software producing company. And when I was hired, the director said that some time ago, before I was hired, they were approached by a big company and they wanted to buy them. So the story was about several millions contract, which was not signed. One of the reasons was the buyer went on Google and clicked the tab news, and there was nothing about that organization on the news. And if we don't know about something, we don't trust it, right? And it's important for us to appear on the news with our projects, with our activities. And giving you a small is if one day you decide to make a Wikipedia page about your organization, you will need trusted sources to back your page because otherwise your Wikipedia page will not be approved. And traditional media is one of the ways to do it. Okay, so how can we work with journalists as a nonprofit organizations? You can make something incredibly grand so that the journalist will be looking for you and asking how to find you, and they will run after you to have interview and to write your story. The real situation about it is that journalists would rarely go after a good story. So even though it is not impossible, it is very unlikely to happen because on the news, unfortunately, bad stories sell more. By sell more, I mean they are more clickable, they are more shareable, they are more readable. So if you do something good, it is possible, but not very much, that the journalist will be after you. Another approach, you can organize a press conference. For those that have never organized it, it looks like super frightening, but there is nothing frightening about it, especially if in your town there is something that is called a press center. If there is an organization that provides organizing press conferences as a service, right? They already have the contacts of all journalists. They can make a press release for you, prepare you, coach you for that. So it's a very legit approach. I participated in many press conferences as a journalist when I was invited to go and listen to people. And as a nonprofit, we organized press conferences on our own when we invited journalists and they came and listened to us. This approach works well especially if you have interesting speakers. On press conference, it's not one person that speaks about the matter, it's a couple of representatives from your organization. And if you're doing something in partnership with someone, it's great if you invite those people as well. So by this, journalists have approach to several speakers. They will be asking questions, and the material will be more, I would say, wholesome, more genuine. Another approach is to build contacts with journalists. Imagine you have a person that works in this newspaper and a person that works in that TV station, right? And you know that you're organizing this event, and you're just calling them and saying, hey, we're organizing this event. Why don't you come and, I don't know, write or make a report about us? Absolutely possible. But for that, you need to start building relationship with the journalists. And the final one is to send a press release. To send a press release, to write it, to send a press release, and to reach out many media at the same time. From these four approaches, we will focus today on sending a press release, and I will teach you how to make a press release that will be published. So, to have your press release published, you need to do a very simple thing. You just need to do all the journalists' work. Here, how it works. So this is the approach that journalists use for writing news. And I guarantee to you that if you write your press release in this format, it will be something that will be understandable and, I don't know, very signaling professionalism to journalists, and they will just take it and publish it. This approach is called the inverted pyramid. What it means? It means that in the text, at the beginning part, you write most important information from about what you want to say. There are several key questions that you need to answer at the lead part, at the opening part of your press release. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Imagine an event that happened, that you were responsible for, or your organization was responsible for last week, or an event that's gonna happen within next months. Is there something that you are, or not necessarily an event, maybe it's a project, maybe there is some interesting initiative that you're working on, something that happened last week, or something that you were working and gave results last week, or something that's going to be happening during next months? Think of it and please write it in the chat. What topics are we talking about? Because it will be easier to think about this press release writing if you're thinking about a specific happening, a specific project. For example, we launched an exhibition last week. This is something that we can write a press release about and send to media. Or we organized workshops with youngsters, but not just workshops, it was workshops about artificial intelligence. It's not something that is very common and widespread here, so it's kind of unique, and we can write a press release and send it to the media. Please write in the chat. I'm encouraging you to think about it and to share right now. I want to know what we can be working with. So something that you're working on. Okay, our summer festival, everyone is learning. Okay, it's going to be happening during this month, right? Next month. Our organization is looking for young leaders for the summer leadership program, deadline 1st of May. Perfect. We formulated a meeting on creating an educational info pack for Cycladic Islands. Exhibition with concert, 15th of April. Super nice. Mind Theater Forum project regarding the use of ICTs in youth development. Conference about the changes in HR in the last 10 years. Okay, so we'll be keeping it in mind, and we will work bit by bit about the structure of your press release. So at the beginning, you will speak on National Dialogue Summit in November. Okay, November. So at the opening passage of your press release, you speak about who, what, when, where, why. Imagine that we're speaking about, I'm taking the last one, National Dialogue Summit in November. I would start as a journalist, I would start this press release with, National Dialogue Summit will take place somewhere in November. this many people will be invited, or it will focus on this and this and that, and it will bring this many individuals from these areas. It is the first summit of the sort that will be na 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 na. There is a reason why it's called news, that what journalists publish. Because it brings something new. So when you're preparing your press release, you need to keep it in mind. Bring something that creates, even if it's something that already happened, but find an angle that will show that is some new information. Make sure to put it in the lead. The most important information needs to be put in the very first passage and the very first sentences of this of your press release. The second part, the second passage, will be information, the background information, something additional that you want to say about it. In the tail, which would be the third paragraph of it, you can provide more context. And another important thing is that you can provide a quote. A quote from the leader, a quote from the organizer, a quote from a stakeholder, a decision maker, that would add personal viewpoint to that. In the first passages, you describe the information and why it's important. And in the quote, you give the audience understanding how to treat this information, why it's important, what kind of attitude the audience should form. And it's something that is easy to understand for the journalists, and it's easy to understand for the audience. And this whole structure, it's called the inverted pyramid, because the most important information goes on the top, and then the least important information goes to the back, to the end of the story. It's done in this way so that if in the newspaper there is not enough space, we're speaking about the physical newspaper, the paper newspaper. For editors, it's easy to chop the text from the back. They would know that it's not important, so the least important information would be on the back, and they will be cutting from there. Now that information is presented in the digital format on the websites, it's not that important anymore, but in any case, people sometimes they don't go further than first, second passage, so make sure that you put the most important information on the top. All right? This is a real photograph of how we send our press releases. We put the information about the organization so that whenever they need, they would be able to contact us at any point. Comunicado de imprensa, it says press release. So it's something that signals to the journalist what it is about, right? And then we put the title of what it is about, right? Then the first passage speaks about what it is, and then the background details. We also include links. Links is something that would take the reader to our page or to the source page from what we're talking about. And this is something that actually helps us to boost the search engine optimization of our website. The story that was shared during the first webinar by Eva, because these backlinks from the trusted sources, such as newspapers, they boost the performance of the website by far, let alone the fact that people find out about us from the media. And if it's written from the media, it means that it's true. I'm joking, but many people think in this way. You see in the text, in the italics, this is the quote. So in the document, we highlight the quote, and we also give the information who said that. That would be the leader or decision maker. And we also provide the contact details so that more information could be discovered afterwards. It's also important to include a couple of high quality pictures, photos, so that, because some journalists, some newspapers, they would not publish news without an illustration, and you are risking of not being published if you don't provide a photograph. So we also include photos. So this was sent to media in Madeira, and of course it was published. In your folder, when you get to the home task, you will receive this template where you will be able to fill out information about your cause or about your event. You'll write a header, Something very short, something very focused, something that brings attention and also informs the reader, the journalist and the reader, that is something new. Then you will respond to questions of what it is about, and then you will be providing the details, then you will be providing the quote, and you will remember about the image and the contact. Okay, so this is something that you will receive, and you will be able to work with it, and you will be able to share with us. Some tips and tricks about journalism work in general, and something that you need to keep in mind. So recent events for journalists have more value than something that happened a long time ago. So if you have an event, make sure to send information about the event within, if you send it on the same day, it's best, but don't send it later than a couple of days after. It will not make sense because all the news would have, so in the news you inform when it happened, and if the journalist notice that it happened 2 weeks ago, they will never be able to publish it because it's too late for them. Then there is this principle of proximity. Something that happened in your city is more important than something that happened in the neighboring city, right? So if it was a smaller conference that happened in your city, is more important than the bigger event that happened in another city. We cynical journalists used to call it dead bodies per kilometer. I included this phrase for you to understand that, okay, so if a person died in my town, it's important. If a person died in a different town, it's less important. But if many people died there, okay, maybe it's important. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is just a mnemonic for you to remember what I'm talking about. Then, of course, if famous people are involved, journalists will pay more attention to that. But usually what we do is it's a teamwork, it's a crowd. So we don't have really celebrities among ourselves. So we cannot rely on this element. Then, uniqueness of the event or of the project. Try to present it in the way that would be showing that it has never happened before, or similar things happened before, but not like this, right? So some uniqueness of it. Then impact. Stories that involve many people are more important, of course, than stories that involve just would be impacting a couple of people. And of course, conflict. So journalists are hunting hot conflicting topics, but be careful with that because we don't want to appear in bad press. And some more tricks. So the entering the beginning of the press release needs to be very short and on point. Later on in the body, in the tail, you can go into longer sentences, but the beginning has to be very, very, very focused. You have to clearly understand what you want to say and then say it. Don't write overcomplicated words. Don't put adjectives such as amazing, vibrant, magnificent, and so on. It shows unprofessionalism to a journalist. It's something that will be cut out. And if a journalist needs to work too much on the press release, they will just forget about it, right? Make sure to have good grammar. Make sure to add human touch in the quote. Basically, as I said, to explain to your audience why it's important, why they should care about it, why it's unique, why it's something that we are passionate about, right? No slang, no acronyms. It has to be very objective, very plain and professional text. One more thing. You can again run your press release through an AI for correction, for proofreading, for smoothing, but I would not rely on AI for writing your press release. With the recent event of having workshops on AI, because I knew that this webinar is coming, I experimented with ChatGPT. It didn't work out well. It started with organization, My Madeira Island, in connection, in partnership with this and that school, presented these workshops and so on. It's the wrong approach. Why? Because it's not important because the first thing that you write, this is what is considered more important, and it's not important for the audience that we organized it. What's important is that first workshops on AI took place in Madeira. And this is something that only advanced educational systems in the world have been doing so far. And now we have brought it to Madeira, which is far away in the ocean, a small island. This is the important part of the story. Of course, for us, it's important that we did it as My Madeira Island, but it's not something that journalists and people will consider as professional, right? So because of that, I had to rewrite the story after ChatGPT. I changed it the other way around, that these workshops took place, and this is why it's important. Okay. Next step. After you wrote your press release, what do? You need to collect the database of contacts. You need to go to see what news agencies, what broadcasting companies, what radios exist in your area on the regional level, on the national level, and get their contacts. You create an Excel database or just a Word database where you put all the contacts, all emails that you can find. Usually newsrooms have their contacts on the pages. It would be either newsroom at or news at or just contact at the newspaper or broadcasting company or wherever. And sometimes they would even have a specific pages that would say something like pitch your story. So they would explicitly say that if you have news, you should send them there. And you create that database. There should be at least 10 or 15 contacts. Why? Because many of them will ignore you. Sometimes news would go to spam. Sometimes they would just, human factor, meaning they would want to do it, but they will not be able to do it. We cannot rely to that. We need at least one outlet to publish our story. This is why our database cannot be less than 10 contacts. Okay? Often happens that one will publish, another news would see that this is happening, and they will take it and rewrite the story. So there will be some avalanche effect afterwards. But we need our story to be published at least once. And for this, we need to create at least 10 contacts in our database. So you write press release, you put it in the email, and then you send it to them. What happens after is, I know that some people would wait for the journalist to reach out. They would never reach out. What I usually do is half an hour after I send the news, I would Google the story with keywords. I would Google something like Madeira, the topic. I would Google the last name of the person that provided the quote, and I would usually see something. That's the thing. Once you send the news, don't wait for people to reach out to you. Just go and Google the story half an hour after. Usually something would be there. And another point to that. So I said that you need to get contacts, the regional contacts of media. And I'm telling you a story that happened some years ago. So when I was a volunteer here in another organization, they had an amazing project of creating street decorations from the washing machine drums. What you're seeing on the photo is washing machine drums. And this is, they put it, it was basically a very nice steampunk decoration. It was street lamps. So we collected them, we were washing them. It was a horrible process, but we were suffering through this. And they put different color lamps, bulbs inside. So at night it would look really nice. And this was a decoration for a festival. And you see how it looks on the photo. The journalists from the local newspaper, they came, they saw it, and they wrote a publication that this is crazy, and this is crazy not in a good way. Meaning that this is horrible, this is disastrous, and people in Kamardlobus, this is the town, they kind of they approached it absolutely from the wrong perspective, and they kind of made it not really nice for the city. And the president of the association, he was heartbroken, of course, because we worked a lot on that. We collected more than 100 washing machines. Washing machines that were not working anymore. It was from the garbage, from old basements, dismantle. It was a long process. And it was a disaster because we put so much effort into that. We promised that it's gonna look nice, and eventually it was such a bad press. Yeah, so we were super super unhappy about it. At the same time, we knew that it looks really, really nice. So we were unhappy about the result that was on the news, but we were happy with the result that was there. And back then, I was a big fan of the, I don't know, news outlet, creative artistic news outlet that was called Board Panda. I don't know if you ever, any one of you have ever heard about it. So they would publish something about creative, artistic, innovative, and so on. And I was a big fan of that. And it turns out that you can submit your publications. We took nice photos. I wrote a story, we sent it to Board Panda, and then half a day after, the editors of the outlet contacted me. They said, "Hey, look, we like your story. We want to reorganize it. Do you agree with this?" Basically, they changed the one passage. They put all the text together and then the photos afterwards. And when I said yes, it looks all right, they locked it, and I couldn't access to it anymore. And they took it as an editorial material and they published it on the front page. So this was the photos from the story. The thing is, this Board Panda website, it is very popular. It was very popular. It is very popular. They changed what they publish now, but it's popular anyways. Thousands of people read this article around the world. Hundreds of people shared it, and hundreds of media outlets around the world, and those that focus on creativity, those that focus on upcycling, on steampunk, various ones. They published it around the world. People from other countries were contacting us to say, "Hey, we read about it, you on our news." Eventually, after all this story around the world, the newspapers in Portugal mainland noticed the story, and they published about this extraordinary thing that happened on the island of Madeira in the small village of Lobos. So the national newspapers published it. And then after the national published it, the local also saw it. And they came again, they took photos, and they published the story that said, "Hey, you know what? I think we were wrong." And they published it as a good story, like, "Look what innovative things happen," and so on and so on. After this, these street lamps, they were invited to festivals. They were invited to the light festival in Amsterdam and so on. So basically, what I want to say with this story is that sometimes, so having contacts in the local media is important, but sometimes the scope of the story is not for the local level. So be sure to have access to bigger outlets as well. So when you create a story, you need to evaluate what it is for the local level, or maybe it is something that is deserving to be published at the national level, for example. And these stories happen as well, because this was not even international, this was global. And I'm personally proud of it. Of course, my final idea is that public relations and media relations is a great power. Use it wisely, don't abuse it. Reach out only when you have a good story, but make sure to do it, because this really works. I know that this approach works because I trained staff in my organization to do it. We are very easily contacting and being published and being visible and being noticed. And it is something that is working, and it's working internationally. The home task will be to write a press release of something that happened last week or going to happen within next months, to create the database of the contacts in your region. Afterwards, this information, we will send it to you in the email, and I will share with you my professional email as well. And those that write that press release, I can check it. I can check it, and I can make comments and adjust the text, something that will be publishable. So this is my offer and gift to you.
Me again. Um, so thank you for this very dense input and for this amazing story of to tell us how to take also failures and look at where they can actually blossom somewhere.
Thank you very much. I guess by this we can be finishing. I will be able to respond your questions in the Padlet, and also you can reach to me through the email that we're going to share with you. I totally wish you luck and success with that. I swear these are the tools that are absolutely applicable in the real world, and it really works. And I tell this to you as an ex-journalist, and as a current, non-profit organization manager. So yeah, thank you so much.